sweet gestures to genuine apologies, these are the most heartwarming moments we've ever seen on Hell's Kitchen. Starting off with a contestant who managed to bring the wholesomeness right into the middle of a kitchen crisis.
The meat isn't even done.
So whose fault is that then?
It's my fault. I'm upset with myself. I'm not upset with you.
So during the budget challenge, Joy Parham Thomas thought she could feed her whole crew with just $35. So she got Scott Cummings to get her pork loin in the oven, but when she took it out, she freaked out. For some reason, she thought it was raw.
Fucking pork is raw.
After the time was up though, she was still struggling to plate her dish, and seeing this, Gordon was pretty confused.
Joy, everybody had 30 minutes, you're still plating.
Well, yeah, she was all grumpy and whiny about how she couldn't wrap things up in time. What's more, she totally blamed herself for the disaster with the pork and was about to storm out of the red kitchen super upset.
Joy, when you ignore me like that, it's a height of bad manners.
But of course, leaving it to Gordon to set things straight, he immediately called out to her, and asked her not to ignore him anymore. Probably a good idea. If she wanted to have any chance at the competition, she'd have to pull herself together. Oh, but wait, here comes the heartwarming part.
Can all of you take 10 seconds and just polish your plates?
I feel bad for Joy.
Yeah, Scott gave her this big and comforting hug, something she 100% needed at that moment to get her head back in the game. He also assured her that the dish could still turn out great if they let the pork rest for a little bit longer. Despite all the support she received, Joy was the last one from the red team to have her dish judged. And even though Kashia Zolokov had her back, she still wasn't confident about her chances. And when they say it takes a village. In the end, Joy walked up with her seared pork loin with spicy applesauce, and guess what?
Thank you.
I would say about $25, I would say.
Yeah.
Yes, the judges loved it. They sung the praises of the perfectly cooked pork, and she scored an average of $24.67. And what do you know, the red team won the challenge, beating the other team by a good margin as well. And well, she couldn't just believe it, unlike Kashia, who knew they had it all in the bag all along. You see, Joy was worrying for nothing, and it was probably just the anxiety playing with her nerves. Back in the dorms, Joy couldn't help but share her feelings with the rest of the team. She confessed how proud she was of her entire team, especially of Scott, who really went out of his way and stepped up in the challenge. This challenge truly deserved a sumptuous reward, which is exactly what they got. The red team earned a fat $1,000 shopping spree at the Grove District, topped with a fancy lunch at Hatfield. Talk about living the good life. During the reward, Joy mentioned how she had never been to a Michelin star restaurant before. Given my last dining experience was Burger King, I can relate. But her excitement about that trip to Hatfield was palpable.
What?
At the world famous Grove.
At least it all turned out for the better. Just like what happened in the next episode, which turned out to be quite the emotional ride for both the contestant and Gordon himself.
A loser or a quitter, and his name was Bobby, and the moments that when I'm...
So, during the dinner service, Robert Hess was handling the fish station. Gordon asked him to pick up the pace, but he totally lost it when Gordon called him Bobby.
No answer. My father's name's Bobby.
Yeah, so why would Robert have such an exaggerated response about something so harmless? Well, turns out Gordon had unknowingly touched a nerve. You see, Bobby was Robert's father's name, and just the sound of it was enough to trigger some serious childhood trauma for the poor chef. Since Robert couldn't really share the story behind it with Gordon at the moment, his mood soon turned sour. At first he tried to keep his cool, but it wasn't something he could keep up for very long, which eventually resulted in him throwing a John Dory into the trash. When Gordon found out, he noticed that Robert had trashed multiple orders, actually.
Here, how much you throwing away?
Too much, chef.
You can't just trash it like that.
I was thinking you wouldn't take it.
The only reason Robert could actually give in return was that the food wasn't good enough, and in fact he couldn't even look Gordon in the eye while he spoke to him. Gordon sorta got the hint that something wasn't right, so he pulled Robert aside into the pantry and told him this.
Picking on me as an excuse. That's not good enough. You can't trash all that.
Yeah, Gordon had to urge him to concentrate and get his act together. So the rest of the service was pretty smooth, but Gordon definitely wanted to leave that thread with Robert hanging. After the service, he confronted Robert about his attitude, and this is what he had to say for himself.
I'd like to speak to you in private before a chef.
Later. Right now, I don't need any private bullshit from anybody.
Yeah, he kinda tried to brush that one aside. Eventually, both the teams were named as losers that night, and Giovanni was labeled as the best of the worst on the blue team. Back in the dorms, Robert finally came clean. He spilled his guts to the red team about his messed up relationship with his father and why Gordon calling him Bobby had such a bad effect on him.
Bobby, you don't
He's
look
like,
up.
I look at him.
He thought Gordon could relate, knowing that Gordon himself had a pretty awful father of his own. Gordon then called Robert over to his office, which is when the dude decided to pour his heart out about his abusive father.
And it was just like, flashback, all back, you know, so.
That's fair enough. I get that. I
Yeah.
take that, and I totally respect that. I apologize.
Well, Gordon, who could relate with Robert's every word, told him this. Talk about a tearjerker. It was time for Robert to confront his feelings and finally put those haunting memories aside. And you know, this normally requires years of therapy, but Gordon telling you to buck up is just as good, I suppose. He had to focus all his energy into the competition and what was asked of him, without the heavy baggage holding him back, of course. One viewer pointed out that if you can see past all the yelling, cursing, and insults, Gordon is actually a super understanding dude who genuinely cares about all the people he's mentoring throughout the season. I mean, the man commands respect for a reason. But in this next episode, you got one contestant rallying the others to keep pushing forward. You know what's crazy? Both of them ended up snagging those slick black jackets. This is a total win-win situation that's sure to get you amped up. So in episode 2 of season 4, before the dinner madness, Gordon quizzed Luis Petroza about the 5 appetizers right in front of everyone. And boy, did Petroza choke like, you know that one episode of Squidward meme with that fork? I love that episode.
Seared tuna,
Well, yeah, in a word, he had messed up big time. You all might have already guessed what Gordon did next.
Do me a favor. Get out.
The guy was basically kicked out of the kitchen and Gordon told him to hit the books, or in this case, the menu. And then he didn't have to show his face again until he had it branded into his skull. Later outside the kitchen, Gordon practically fainted at the audacity of someone not knowing the menu. Petroza in his dorm grumbled about how he hadn't touched a menu that wasn't his in about 19 years or so. Back in the trenches, Gordon dragged Petroza into the pantry, booting Jason like he didn't give a damn about him.
Okay, close the door, please. Out.
I'm leaving, Chef.
Good, thank you.
And then the menu interrogation started all over again. Petroza went for it at first and once again screwed up. Meanwhile, Gordon's patience was running thinner and thinner by the second.
And start again.
okay,
Quick, let's go.
okay.
Can you hurry up?
Yes, chef.
So, back to the dorms, out on the patio, Petroza pulled something dramatic as hell out of his pocket. Listen to this, tell me we're not watching a telenovel or something like that.
But, nah, not here. Nah, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. In the words of Chef Ramsay.
He basically declared he was over and done, wanting to call it quits, stone cold turkey, yada yada. Either way, just in the nick of time, Bobby, his good old buddy, hauled himself over to Petroza's dorm like a knight in a chef's jacket.
I'm done.
No, come on, put it down.
No, I'm
Chef
done,
wants you,
man.
Chef wants you, he's right out there.
Yeah, he played the therapist and passed an apron over to Petroza like it was a tissue for his tears. But I guess it was the only reminder that Petroza needed in the heat of the moment. You see, Bobby could relate with where Petroza came from and decided to hold out his hand in support.
Hey, come on, let's go. You alright? Take a couple breaths. No, it's cool, Stay right there.
I'm done, man.
No, stay there, you're cool.
But here comes the heartwarming part when Bobby literally did this next.
Here, wipe your fucking eyes. Here, this is the cleanest thing. Here,
I'm good.
wipe your fucking eyes.
Back in the kitchen, Petroza, after some soul-searching, or whatever, finally rocked the menu. Gordon was so relieved that he didn't have to go through another failed rapid-fire round. And what's a victory without a high five, am I right?
Now, get in the fucking kitchen. You're on the meat.
Work my fucking balls off.
Gordon definitely recognized Petroza's accomplishment. Finally, Gordon was ready to get down to business, which is when he asked Petroza to get to his station. Many viewers poured their hearts out saying, no doubt we're all big fans of Petroza, but let's not forget about Bobby, the secret hero of season 4. It was truly heartwarming to watch him stand by Petroza when he was feeling low and about to get the boot. Huge respect for you, General Bobby, and I really hope he's doing great. But in this next episode, Petroza was over the moon when he heard Gordon complimenting the dinner service after a string of disasters.
Hell's Kitchen, Chef Ramsay has been riding me about being dirty, and I've been trying to keep clean, but I just haven't been able to do it, you know?
During the dinner service, Petroza totally ruled the meat station, like it was no big deal at all. When the entrees rolled in, he and Corey happened to show up at the pass together, and suddenly out of the blue, he pulled off a miracle beef order that saved the day. Well, everything seemed like it was going great until Gordon caught him manning a station that definitely could have looked better. Yeah, so Petroza put so much attention into dishing out the perfectly cooked meat that he totally forgot about his station. It was so messy that it actually made Gordon wince. And that's when Gordon turned on to this cleaning drill sergeant and handed out orders for Petroza to get his station in order. Here's the challenge though. He had just 10 seconds to work his magic, and every second that passed was like a life or death situation.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Come on, Petrosa.
But when he finally delivered his filet mignons to the pass, Gordon almost looked like the messy station incident never happened. He was over the moon about him.
Service, please. That's nicely cooked, that filet mignon. I don't give a f if you work like a pig from now on. Your meat's been excellent.
And Petrosa definitely shared that sentiment. After what felt like an eternity, nearly every diner had received their entrees, and the perfectly crafted desserts only made things better. But, well, it was time for the deliberations. Someone was gonna get the boot. As the chefs lined up for their verdict, Gordon turned into a high-five machine.
Yes, excellent, What do you mean? Tonight was extraordinary.
It probably felt like he was granting knighthood to a bunch of culinary warriors. And Petrosa's reaction gave Wholesome a whole new definition.
Well done.
Thanks.
Yes?
Thanks. After seeing him cursing and yelling and screaming.
Yeah, he couldn't believe his ears when Gordon cracked a joke, finally seeing the humor through all the yelling. He even dubbed it the most mind-blowingly amazing service ever. And what followed next is something every contestant wishes they'll have the chance to witness on the show.
In-house kitchen. One more thing.
But in this next episode, everyone had their hearts in their throats. You see, one contestant struggled to put their feelings into words.
It's just
Can you breathe for me? You're making me nervous. Okay.
No, I just
But the Hell's Kitchen's mentors read them like an open book. Well, it's moments like these that give you faith in humanity again. So in the 6th episode of season 18, before another round of dinner madness, Chris Mendonca was hit by a wave of dark emotions from the previous night's fiascos because he had messed up so badly. Worried that things might get worse, he decided to have a heart-to-heart with sous chef Christina in the pantry, and sadly he ended up doing this.
I'm gonna be bowing out of Hell's Kitchen.
Today?
It was hard for him, but he still tried to open up about how he wasn't mentally in the game and was contemplating leaving the competition then and there. Sous Chef Christina was taken aback, but Chris explained he was struggling with his feelings after a personal accident sent him spiraling into a dark place. Sous Chef Christina, being considerable, asked him not to worry.
More so than anything, I want you to grow and I want you to remain healthy, especially mentally.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty.
She then had a chat with Gordon about Chris's situation, and this time Gordon took Chris back into the pantry, where he once again struggled to put his emotions into words. Gordon, always looking out for the well-being of his contestants, made it clear that mental health was paramount.
Your health and your well-being is number one. That's priority, okay? If you're uncomfortable and you're feeling demons, then you need to go and get help.
He urged Chris to seek professional help and promised his support in doing so, and this little discussion led to Chris leaving the competition for his own well-being. But before he left, this is what he had to say in his exit interview.
Easier to lie and hide behind things, but it's harder to face the music and to take yourself off an opportunity thousands would kill for. But for me, it's just absolutely the right thing to do.
Gordon, however, didn't want to lay Chris's weaknesses out in the open. He simply told the teams that Chris had to leave for personal reasons and refrained from revealing any more details behind his elimination. Major respect there, chef. Anyway, moving on, Hell's Kitchen isn't called Hell's Kitchen for no reason. However, amidst all the chaos and flames, if you laid eyes on your parents after years of being apart, you'd bet it was all worth it. Just like it was for the contestant in this upcoming episode. So in episode 15 or 16, Declan Horgan made his way to Gordon's office for a chat. Gordon dropped a bomb on him, revealing that he tried to surprise Declan by flying his parents to see them. But here's the thing, the team let Gordon in on a secret. Declan's parents were supposedly on vacation. Declan's face fell as he hadn't seen his folks in a whopping 2 years since he moved to the States. But Gordon wasn't about to let the story end on a sour note. He had actually redirected Declan's parents' vacation plans to Vegas so they could reunite.
Welcome, Mum and Dad.
Oh my god.
Cue the emotional reunion. Just look at how the big boy at Hell's Kitchen literally becomes a small kid after seeing his parents.
Holy shit.
As Declan embraced his parents, he felt the weight of all the hard work he'd put in and realized it was totally worth it. He was so thankful for this moment and couldn't help himself but express every single thing he was feeling.
Chef, thank you so much, man. I'm gonna do them proud. I'm gonna do them even more proud after this.
No, that was just touching right there. When they caught up, Declan spilled the beans about the helicopter reward and all the guest judges he'd met during the challenges. It was the ultimate parent-child catch-up session. Someone commented saying that Declan getting back together with his parents is definitely one of the most heartwarming moments ever on Hell's Kitchen. Next up, let's talk about the boldest contestant ever on Hell's Kitchen who made us all emotional. Season 5, Episode 2. Things got pretty eventful for Ji Hyun Cha. During prep time, she slipped on some oil and ended up spraining her ankle.
Oh, are you okay, G?
The medic took a look and everybody was on edge, fearing the worst. Despite the pain though, G was determined to soldier on for that night's service.
Go ahead and try to keep it. Oh, I know. I'm in pain.
Right after the service, G limped her way back to the back hall to see the medic again because her foot was all swollen. She kinda felt like a burden to her teammates, but the other ladies were super nice, telling her she rocked it and they weren't kicking her out that night.
G, you're not going home. I feel like a burden to you guys.
No way. We're a team and you are a strong member of this team.
Paul even said she wanted G to stick it around until she herself said she was done. When they lined up for the deliberations, G was there in a wheelchair to give her ankle a break. Guess what? This is what happened.
Yes, Chef.
Courageous effort on one foot, and clearly in a lot of pain.
Thank you, Chef.
More importantly, you didn't give up.
Despite that, Gordon still gave her major props for not chickening out and pushing through the pain. He knew a bunch of people would have thrown in the towel for less. Unfortunately, the red team lost and had to nominate 2 for elimination, but G wasn't part of the deliberation. She was with the medical staff. But wait, when it was getting close to elimination time, it looked like Colleen or Lacey might be on the chopping block. But suddenly, G raised her hand.
Chef? Chef?
G?
And in a surprising move, she announced this.
But I'd like to volunteer. I feel that I'm half a manpower in your kitchen, Chef.
Andrea tried to butt in, saying G was still better than both Colleen and Lacey despite her injury, but G was super firm about leaving because she wanted the girls to have a shot at winning. Gordon respected her choice and asked Colleen and Lacey to get back in line, and then he praised her skills.
You've been phenomenal.
Thank you, Chef.
A talented girl, but unfortunately, due to the circumstances, it's not fair to continue.
And yes, the best part was when Gordon allowed her to keep the jacket to show off her courage and pride. Now watch this as Andrea wheeled around, keep an eye on everyone's emotions. The guys gave her a big round of applause and Charlie held the door out for her. Now that's team effort right there. In her exit interview, G with tearful eyes shared that she was confident she could have gone further had it not been for the injury. But well, things just weren't meant to be. Most viewers showered her with praises, and I mean she gave up her spot in the competition to help out her teammates. And the coolest part, Gordon let her keep the chef jacket, and that's gotta be the ultimate souvenir, but it's still a bummer she went through that since she's got a massive heart and so much passion. I hope she's doing great in her life right now and still rocking that jacket. But here comes another contestant who had to leave Hell's Kitchen due to a medical emergency. So in episode 2 of season 2, things took a more serious turn for Lauren's Larry Sick. In the morning around 4:20 a.m., Larry started feeling really sick, no pun intended. So much so he was sweating hard and even struggling to breathe. It got so bad that he called for the medic, explaining his symptoms. From there on, the situation escalated and he was rushed to the hospital. The next day, his absence was glaring, and his fellow contestants started asking around if anybody had seen him. But Larry was nowhere to be found. Just as they were wondering, the phone rang and Sarah picked it up. It was Larry on the other end, and he wanted everyone to listen in.
Well, this morning, the stress of everything basically shut my body down.
With a heavy heart, he dropped a bomb. But before he hung up, he left his fellow chefs with some words of encouragement, urging them to stay strong and united. After the call, Larry reflected on the situation, saying this.
I didn't quit. My body quit.
Now, I totally get that health is wealth, and some contestants even chose to bow out voluntarily. But the next contestant was determined to fight on, but the medical records left no room for choice. And more importantly, Gordon wasn't willing to roll the dice on someone's life.
I've worked all this time to come to this point to work for you.
I really appreciate you trying damn hard to get back here. The bad news is you have a serious illness. The doctor's orders. You cannot come back into this kitchen.
What happened is, one fine day in the early hours of the morning, Aaron's song was dealing with those darn cramps again. Things were so bad that Rock and Brad had to help him out because they weren't gonna ditch a buddy. Fast forward to the Army and Navy showdown, Aaron got stuck at the omelet station. He thought he could handle it, but then bam.
You're on fire, Aaron!
Oh boy.
His omelet pan decided to become a bonfire, and he had to trash 2 charred orders. His omelet disaster totally messed with the team's flow, and Brad started calling him the weak link on the blue team. Gee, thanks, Brad. Josh and Brad had to swoop in and take over, but Aaron went into this daze and managed to drop a whole pan of bacon, making everything even more of a hot mess for the guys. The blue team ended up losing the Army and Navy service challenge, and their punishment was a good round of KP duty.
Pick it up and get moving!
Now I'm feeling like...
And that's not it. Their punishment included prepping 1,000 pounds of potatoes and onions. While they were in the midst of the task, Aaron collapsed due to the stress of moving heavy bags around. Aaron! Naturally, his teammates were worried sick and they called in the medic. Josh was especially concerned for him as he watched Aaron being taken away in an ambulance.
Go.
The following day, Aaron was at the hospital when he got a call from Gordon.
His kitchen. Alrighty then. Best wishes.
It turned out his health was too compromised for him to return to Hell's Kitchen, and he wouldn't be able to continue in the competition. Needless to say, he was disappointed, ending his journey on a somber note. But we all know he left his mark on Hell's Kitchen with his jolly personality. But this next contestant's exit ended up bringing tears to all their fellow contestants. Just by saying that, I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about.
I got Chef Ramsay hard.
Yep, this next part is all about Sterling Wright. So in episode 12, during the dinner chaos, Sterling was rocking the fish station. He first did pretty well, but then plot twist, he sent out scallops that were basically still alive. But he continued making mistakes even in his third attempt. And so attempt number 4, you'd think it'd be the charm, but no, raw scallops again. Verdict? Well, Roe and Sterling switched stations while Gordon gave a pep talk that sounded probably like one of those motivational speeches you see in movies. When the chefs lined up, Gordon pulled Sterling to the front and dropped a bomb.
But I know that you're not ready to be my next head chef.
He continued by telling him he was a total warrior. In a bittersweet moment, Sterling got the boot right then and there, and the other chefs were crushed after hearing this. But Sterling took it in stride. Then Gordon sang his praises for being a joy in the kitchen, and he even gave him the best honor possible by doing this next.
I want you to keep your jacket.
Man, that's what's up, man. Thank you.
And let that be a reminder of what you've achieved in this competition.
Thank you so much again, man.
Got to keep his jacket, jeez, kind of like a souvenir from his culinary adventure. His brightest joy and smile left other contestants emotional.
I'm starting.
Before he packed his bags in the dorm, Sterling dished out hugs to Gordon and the entire gang.
I'm gonna miss y'all,
There,
okay?
I'm gonna miss you too.
I love all y'all, okay? 100 is no longer part of Hell's Kitchen, but I learned a whole lot.
And the best part, Gordon made sure he knew he was still 100 in his book. In his exit interview, Sterling got a flashback reel of his journey.
How you doing today?
And he definitely made the most beautiful memories. He then wrapped it up by saying even though he didn't win, he won Gordon's heart, a trophy no one else before him could claim. Someone in the comments mentioned how cool it is to be like Sterling, a real optimist who still managed to leave a mark on everyone's hearts even after getting kicked out. Another person chimed in and said that Sterling didn't just win Chef Gordon's heart, but also the hearts of millions of people around the world. These heartwarming moments remind us that even in the heat of the kitchen, there's room for compassion, unity, and the human spirit to shine through. So do you know any other heartwarming instances? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Now before you head out, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to smack that like button, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. Also, if you want to see something even crazier, check out my latest video right here. See you all next time.